With the United States settling all the lands from sea to sea, those believing in manifest destiny set their eyes beyond America's shores. The most obvious place for expansion was the crumbling Spanish Empire. The Spaniards still colonized Cuba and Puerto Rico, both located close to American shores. In Cuba, a revolution was taking place, the locals demanding their freedom from Spain. The American people sympathized with the rebels. At the end of January 1898, the USS Maine, one of the United States' battleships, entered Havana Harbor. The Maine was there as part of a routine mission to be available to protect Americans who might get into trouble in the midst of the Cuban Revolution. On the night of February 15th, 1898, an explosion rocked the Maine. That explosion sunk the Maine very quickly, and 250 American sailors lost their lives immediately. Additional sailors died a few days later from their wounds. A commission of inquiry determined that it was a mine that had sunk the Maine. The commission was unable to determine who had placed the mine, but the assumption was it had been the Spanish. U.S. newspapers called, "Remember the Maine!" They called for war. And by April, Congress gave in and declared war on the Spanish. The war was not much of a conflict altogether. Spain was an old empire. The U.S. was a growing empire. Spain had an old navy. It was not up to fighting the U.S. Navy, which by then had become a strong fighting force. It's near Manila Bay. There lie the main Spanish fleet for the Pacific Ocean. In a quick battle, Admiral Dewey defeated the Spanish and lost no ships of his own. The U.S. then prepared an invasion force to conquer Cuba. Once again, the Spanish Navy would not be a detriment to the American naval force that landed troops on the island of Cuba. The battle took a few days. There were some hard-fought battles, and there were famous battles, like the Battle of San Juan Hill, where Teddy Roosevelt was one of the Rough Riders, captured that strategic location, opening the rest of Cuba for American conquest. The Spanish also were defeated in the Philippines as the United States captured Manila. In the end, the Spanish were forced to give up their rights to the Philippines, which the United States occupied, to Cuba, and to Puerto Rico. It was the end of the Spanish Empire in the Americas, and it was the beginning of imperial America for the United States.